Welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe, the podcast series for beginner web developers and general web enthusiasts. Now, introducing your show hosts, Michael Budd, Fraser Hart, Lewis Keynes, and Ed Mann.
Hi everyone, welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe podcast, the podcast for PHP enthusiasts. And some shocking news, we are now actually recording with video as well. So not for you guys, you can't see the video, but unfortunately I can. And I can see Fraser and Lewis right now giving me all kinds of rude, what's the word, gesticulations?
Gestures.
Gestures.
No gesticulations.
Yeah. Which is quite off-putting, but we'll carry on anyway. But
I was just waving, maybe not in the conventional sense. But...
I was scratching my cheek.
Yeah. But yeah, welcome to our podcast, podcast for PHP enthusiasts and everything web. And I am joined, as I've just mentioned, really, by my two good pals, Lewis Keynes.
Good evening.
I'm
back.
You're back. Back. And Fraser Hart.
Good evening.
This feels really weird. This doesn't feel right being able to see both of you while we're doing this.
Yeah, it changes it completely, actually.
It does, it's a new dynamic. I quite like it. I think it's quite good.
It's a lot better.
I have concerns that it might take away from the quality of what we put out there.
Well, I think we've already kind of established that's going to be the case because Ed's away, so we're going to be, it's going to be a poor show anyway, but we'll try and drag it through.
We've lost the intelligent one tonight, so it's going to be a bit substandard, but
you poor people.
Be fine.
We'll do what we can.
Yeah. We should probably start with that actually, because prior to this week we couldn't have video on Skype. So, Fraser, you reckoned they've just changed their policy or something?
Yeah, I think it was literally 2 or 3 days ago. I read something about it on that website that I love, Reddit, which I do actually genuinely love. I just have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. But yeah, no, I read something about it on there, and it's kind of good as well because it's. Lewis is balancing something on his head. It might not be good for the listeners at the moment.
Sorry.
But, no, it's really good
I'll stop that.
Because before, you'd have to have like a premium subscription. I think that was something like a £10 a month or a £5 a month fee. So obviously, it's nice to get something like that for free and not have to pay for it.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Have you used Google Hangouts before?
Yes, once or twice.
Yeah, we couldn't be trusted with that either.
Yeah, it's great, but you kind of get carried away with the hats in the backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and the moustaches and all the weird stuff and sound effects. We don't have enough sound effects on this show.
Yeah.
We need to do something about that.
Yeah, 100%. So, Lou, how's your week been?
My week has been like every other week has been for the past. I don't know how long. It's just crazy. Yeah, I'm literally coding around the clock and doing not a lot else at the moment. I'm getting up, alarm goes off about 6 o'clock, leave for work at about 10 to 6. Sorry, not 10 to 6, 10 to 7, and I'm at work from like 7 till 5:30, and then when I get home I'm cracking on with stuff until about 10 o'clock in the evening.
So you get to the office at 7 o'clock every morning, and then you're on the ball from then?
Pretty much. I'm not due to start till 8:30, but okay. I like to go in early just because where I live, the traffic gets really, really bad around rush hour, and I quite like easing myself into the morning slowly. It's quite nice to just be there on my own for a bit and just kind of, we got a pool table at work and stuff, so I just wander out and have a cup of tea and have a game of pool and break myself into the day gently. So got another new project given to me at work this week, but a really good one. My two main things that I've had going have just ground to a halt. It's so frustrating to have done so much work on two projects like that and have them so far down the path, but from the client end it's just ground to a halt. So all that work's just there and doing nothing.
So what are they dragging their feet on? Is it the standard you're waiting on content from them, or?
Yeah, content. Literally, well, there's the main one, which is the electrical company, which is the one that I've been working on for ages, that I haven't now touched for about 2.5 months, literally, because they just haven't sent content in for it.
Yeah,
I think I've probably talked about this a few times, but and then the other one's the e-commerce site, and that's ground to a halt now as well, because I've kind of, you know, when you do do enough to get the project rolling, but then you need a bit more input from the client as to how it's going to develop from there.
Yep.
And my boss says they're just not replying to his emails. So,
Really?
So yeah, I'm kind of loath to continue with that until we know what's going on with it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And then got a few other bits and bobs on the go. So it's all busy. It's good. It's fun though. I'm not complaining.
Awesome. And how are you getting on with your private projects? Are you cracking on with those? Are you busting them out, or are you still piled up?
One of them's nearly there. It's just taken a while to get from start to finish.
Yeah.
The other one is now through the design phase, which is nice. It's the first time I've used this Design Crowd website, designcrowd.com.
Okay. Oh, this is the one that you were saying that people kind of bid on your designs and stuff for.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's if I was a lot richer, it'd be like weirdly addictive, I think, because you just stick this budget up and these ideas, and you just get all these design ideas back, and they're all really good.
Really,
well.
and the quality, it's good quality work as well.
Oh, fantastic! Like I was so pleasantly surprised. Like I've just put another project on there, but the first one that we did that's now in the kind of the development phase, we got probably about 15 different designs back from it. From not a huge budget, a reasonable one, but and the quality of they're all like, they're not like just designers who have made a website. They're obviously like website designers who know what they're doing, and they're really, really classy designs. And I can't wait to build this thing. And as soon as I do, I'll share a link.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's good. I'm liking the private work, and I'm hoping these first small steps are what will lead into a full-time freelance career eventually.
Yep.
So
perfect.
Aye.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know you guys do a bit of freelance. I just, towards the end, like you were just saying, Lee, like you're coding like all the time.
Yeah.
I find that a little bit tiring, especially if it's the same thing like all the time.
Yeah.
It's okay if the projects are really varied, but
I find it really
ridiculous.
difficult to there seems to be like a wall between me. Like as soon as I finish at work, I don't know if it's my brain shuts itself off for the day, and I get home, and even if I sit there and try and sit in front of the computer and start coding, like I can't do it, and I find myself getting on my Feedly and then getting on Reddit and then getting on Facebook and going around the cycle of just doing nothing basically.
I definitely have learnt a lesson from this, that full-time job and private stuff just don't mix.
Yeah.
My whole Easter bank holiday, apart from when we went out for a few drinks, I didn't leave the house, and it's kind of been that way for the last few weeks, as I say, and I kind of feel like I want my life back. Even one, maybe one project on the go at a time as well, but not like 3 or 4 like I've had. I mean, it's been a lot to manage, and I have learnt a lesson from it, and I'll be doing things differently once I get through this kind of stage that I'm in.
Yep.
That's really cool though. That is that learning curve that you'll improve, like how you do things next time. I guess that's what it's all about, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. It's just coming into like the golf season's building, and I want to be out on the golf course a lot more these days. Because it's summer now, and I don't play a lot over the winter, so I'm only getting to play, well, if I'm lucky, once a week at the moment, and that has to change definitely. So, yeah.
Nice. How about you, Fraser? What have you been up to?
To be honest, I'd struggle to tell you. It's been such a whirlwind of a week. Just thinking, in the office, I said I was working on a review system for an e-commerce platform that we've been building last week. That's done, and that's in place. And then we've been rolling the e-commerce out to another client. But this is going to be a bit of an interesting one. This is the project that I was talking about, being able to get involved with the front-end MVC frameworks and stuff. So it's kind of the project is they're selling. It's effectively like a Vistaprint kind of thing where you can go on and you can make your own. It's not business cards, but it's that kind of thing, and it's like you move your text around and you customize your text. So that's going to be the front-end MVC framework part of it anyway. So.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be interesting once I get around to doing that. But I've just been putting all the kind of the framework together, and in the PHP framework in the Laravel e-commerce system that we've got. Just been putting that all together before I get to the actual customization part. So it's been pretty interesting. But I'm looking forward to getting on to the next stage and actually doing the front end. Yeah.
So is this like the most you've done on Laravel for a while, or?
Yeah, well, the last few weeks I've been pretty much solid on Laravel, so it's been really, really good. because like I said before, for the last 6 months or so, I've been working on this kind of front end thing, which was all pure jQuery pretty much, which wasn't the nicest thing in the world to work on. So that's kind of done now. And then so on to Laravel, and then onto this front end MVC. So I think I'm going to do it in Angular. Just because I think the community behind Angular is a lot bigger than it is with, say, Backbone or Ember. Even though I do like the hamster, as I keep talking about the hamster.
Is Angular the one that is Angular the one that Ed raves about?
I think so. Yeah, it's the one that I was talking about. There was a guy that I watched a video that he put together on one of them last week, and that was in Angular. And it just seemed to make sense. I'm going to stick with that. And like I say, the community is a lot bigger. And if you do a search on Stack Overflow for Angular questions versus Ember questions, there's a hell of a lot more action around Angular than there is around Ember. So I'm going to jump in with with Angular, I think.
I'd definitely be intrigued to see how that goes. I don't really understand how MVC works. We could work with JavaScript. But
you should check out that video. That video is really useful, and it's not just the whole fact that it's MVC. It's all the hooks into everything. So it's the way. I'm awful at explaining stuff, which is probably not good for a podcast co-host. But it's like
trying to find the words is a nightmare sometimes.
It's kind of just the interactivity and everything that's already built in for you. So it just works. Yeah, it works just nice.
Yeah, I used Angular a couple of times, and I was really impressed with it. But I think I've probably said it 1,000 times. But a couple of issues I had was, first thing was really. I liked it, but I couldn't really justify using it on smaller websites.
Yep.
Because the setup time, it did take a little while, to be honest. But maybe like if you've done it once and you start getting to that whole, you got like a base setup that you could then use again and again. But I couldn't really justify it at the time. But the other thing I had was like, I loved the whole, you would say like what the dependencies were, and it would just load them in for you.
Yep.
But then it must have been something I did wrong. But basically, every time I refresh the page, I get a message saying, that message you get when jQuery can't be found, it says like $is not defined.
Yeah, yep.
I kept getting that, but then I'd refresh the page and it'd find it. So it was odd. Something I must have done wrong.
Bizarre,
yeah. But I was impressed, and like you say, it seems to be the one that's got the most support.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing, it's got Google behind it, and you can't really go wrong with it. I guess if there's people using it and Google's behind it, then I think it's going to end up the winner.
Yeah, I agree.
How about yourself anyway? What's your week been like?
Really good question.
It must be a bit quieter for you now.
Yeah, it is a lot better now, thankfully. Exams coming up though in 3 weeks, so I just need to get my head down with that. But to be honest with you, away from the tech side of things, I've also just getting ready for the baby, and it doesn't sound relevant, but painted the kitchen basically at the weekend, so I was doing that, and that kind of basically took up most of my weekend, so it's pretty sucky stuff really. But
are you selling the house to your baby then, or?
Apparently women go through something called nesting, where like before they want everything perfect. So
is that why they're called birds? That's a terrible joke, I'm so sorry. Cut that
out. But yeah, to be honest with you, so that's kind of what I've been doing. But on a dev perspective, trying to feel what I've done really. I did a little tutorial at the weekend, which you may or may not see, but it was a Java thing. So, but that was just a little bit to do with the students have been doing this year, which is concurrency.
Yep.
And basically, it's like you've got a task, and what you do is you use basically what they call like the divide and conquer type strategy, where you say, well, okay, I've got this big problem. I can divide it up into lots of little chunks and let each one go off and do something, and then they come back at the end, and you put like the final solution together. Right. So, basically, I did a little tutorial on that, and then other than that, again, I'm still working on building an app at the moment, but I've not really got very far. I'm using this Android developer kit, and with that, so I can basically get an app and I can load it up in the emulator that says "Hello World." But what I'm trying to do is do like this Facebook authorization. And so you integrate this Facebook development tools thing. But basically every time I load up my app, it just crashes. So that is a bit of a nightmare. But
probably a dodgy emulator. It's not the code.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing to do with me. But that's pretty much me. Inside my work, we are just in the process of just making our CMS system multilingual. So I've been doing that for about the past month, and that is kind of...
Sounds messy.
It is. That's exactly the word for it. It's not exactly hard. It's just messy. And even though we did actually sit down and we planned it, there's so much stuff that you don't think about that suddenly comes up. Yeah. So basically...
How are you handling that? Have you got separate language files, and then in the config you set your language, and then is it a case of in place of just putting text into the templates, I guess you put a code that says this is the variable that we're looking for. If you haven't got it, fall back to this one, or fall back to this text kind of thing, is it?
Yeah, pretty much just hit the nail on the head. But what we try to do is have a look at how other people did it. But obviously, unless it's like an open source thing, it's hard to know how other people have done it. Right, but we did do the route that you pretty much just said, which was have you heard of David Walsh? He's like he has
name rings a bell, but I'm not sure why.
Yeah, he's really he does a lot of tutorials on the web and stuff, and I find him really, really useful actually. But he basically had some code snippet which was for like doing like database backups and stuff like that. So what I did is I took his code, and basically what I did for every language that a client has set up, I basically make copies of each and every table, which sounds painful, but you know, I'm not saying it is the best solution, but it is a solution.
Yep.
And then what I do is basically when the user changes language, it then puts into effect what table it actually saves the content to.
Okay, right.
Because our CMS, we actually do print physical HTML pages. It's not all database driven.
Yep.
That's a whole another topic for another week. But yeah, so that's where we're doing it, and it's working pretty well. But like I say, you just get the occasional bug up. Well, not even just a bug, but something you just didn't think about, basically.
Right.
So it's just like so much stuff you have to think about, like canonical links and all your meta stuff as well. It's not just the content. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing this week, to be honest with you.
You guys have been reversing strings in PHP.
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah, good fun that. Yeah, we might as well say that if anyone's listening fancies having a go at that, Ed put up a Codecat. We've got a forum on the website now, which if you go to the 3 Devs and a Maybe website and click on forum, we've got a forum with, I think, 5 registered people at the moment. And you're not one of them yet, Lewis.
I'm not one of them, sorry, no. I need to do that.
And so Ed put up like a Codecat, so Ed and Michael and myself.
What is kata? This is a word I've never heard of before.
It's just I
googled it, but is it
you
like,
have them in,
do we use it in our industry often? Is it a word we've adopted or what?
No, I think like kata's like originally it's like because I used to do karate when I was like 6, and I remember it from that, and like the katas were the things where you have to like walk around in squares like punching into the air and stuff, isn't it?
Before you get a belt, you do like a kata.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Kata, see?
So I don't know how that translates to what we're doing, because we're just doing quizzes, essentially, aren't we?
Yeah, but I know it is big, like, especially, I think in the Java world it's huge as well, like, but yeah, it could be any language, but I know my mate who's a Java programmer for one of the big banks, they do it a lot. I think it's a really good idea, actually.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to try and come up with the most long-winded way of doing it I still might.
You know what? That'd be a great idea for the second one. Actually, make the longest.
Just as a bit of fun, how not. This is the worst, but I know that I could definitely do that.
Yeah, what's the least efficient way that you can do something?
Yeah, that's kind of just how I operate.
Yeah.
We should probably mention actually why Ed is absent.
I don't actually know why he is absent.
Technical difficulties.
So basically, he's cursing me. He's blaming me for it. But you know, like I've had problems with my Mac
with the dust. Yeah.
Yeah, with the dust.
You went and dumped it all on his computer.
Well, basically, I've still got problems with my Mac. I'm kind of hoping it stays all right for the rest of the podcast. But my display just keeps turning off by itself. But since that's happened, Ed's...
that's called like a screensaver. You don't do anything for a while.
Yeah,
Mine
does
worm
that. Comes and moves around the screen all the time. I don't know what happens there,
You know what? That is just a shocking moment of realisation. I wonder if something has actually changed in my screensaver settings. Oh man, that's so embarrassing. I'll have to check that after.
There's this button on the top right of my keyboard. Whenever I press it, the thing just turns off. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, keep moving the mouse and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll check that after. But yeah, he's got the problem where his fan is basically making a real racket now. I was basically having a Skype chat with him the other day, and you could hardly hear what he was saying because it just sounds like, when you're on holiday, you've got like crickets in the background.
Yep.
It basically sounds like that. So he is not a happy bunny at the moment, but he's going to have to send it in for repair, I guess. But the only other thing else he's got is that Korean laptop. So
right.
I don't think that was any good.
I bet he gets a MacBook Air as well.
The Arch Linux thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Arch Linux. I said to him, I bet he'll get a MacBook, but he's saying he won't. But
I bet he will.
Why wouldn't he?
Exactly.
What does he reckon he's getting then?
I don't know. Well, he's no idea what's going to cost him to get his iMac repaired, to be fair. So, yeah, but that's why Ed isn't here, but I'm sure he'll be back next week if his computer's fixed. So that's basically where Ed is, or not is, whatever, but he will be back next week, hopefully. So,
seamless.
Seamless indeed. So I guess we should have a look. Anyone got any hot picks this week?
I actually have 3.
Oh, boom!
Which is 3 more than I normally have.
Go for it.
The first one, installing virtual machines and getting IE on a virtual machine and all that stuff is a bit of a pain in the derriere.
Yeah.
You might know of it. Modern.ie and the tools you can do through there that you can install through the command line. That it just basically gives you an executable file that will just boot it all up and do it all and gives you the old disk image and all that stuff. Just does the whole lot all in one go.
Oh, really? So Sorry, what's that called again?
It's modern.ie. So if you click on that and then get tools.
Yeah.
You is it get tools? It's in there somewhere. Yeah, there's a right down the bottom. There's a button called download free virtual machines.
Yeah.
And then inside of there, you can get a whole load of download links where you just get everything that you need to install a virtual machine, and it just boots straight up from there. That's the first thing.
Very nice. Yeah.
I've had to. I haven't got. I only had like IE 7 and 8 installed in a virtual machine on my computer at work, so I've needed to get the rest of them. Slight disclaimer: these files take forever to download, so maybe do it and leave it overnight.
Yeah.
But, it certainly makes the process of getting virtual machines a lot easier.
Yeah.
Just time consuming. I said 3, I can't remember what the third one is. I know what the second one was. Maybe the third one will come back to me in a bit. Yeah. The second one is a website called jQueryRain.com.
jQueryRain.
And this is brilliant. This is basically like just a GitHub for jQuery repositories and tutorials and things. So anytime you fancy trying to find like some kind of new funky jQuery plugin, go onto here and you can just search and it will just bring up loads of different bits and bobs. Look, it's really cool.
And do you have to submit to that, or do they scan the internet for plugins?
Do you submit to that? How do you mean?
Like, how does it compile its list? Does it go out actively looking for them, or do people submit their own? Or
I think they submit to it, but I'm not entirely sure. It's just there's tons on there.
That's pretty cool.
So I assume people must submit to it, but it looks like a really, really good resource for that kind of thing. So genuinely can't remember what my other one. It's not a new plugin, but my old nemesis, the old Google Maps API.
Yes.
This is my latest project at work. I've got to create this massive Google map with about 40 properties on it and all this bespoke icons and info windows and all this stuff. So I've
info windows.
Yeah. Is that that's what they're called, isn't it? The things that pop up. Why are you laughing?
Nympho.
No, info.
I'm sorry.
Info windows.
I'm
I want
sorry.
that plugin right now.
Yeah. My head's not in the right place.
That's the weirdest thing having the video is I could just see you were laughing a lot harder than you sounded, so I couldn't figure out what was going on there. Anyway, so I've been literally been teaching myself like the API from scratch, going right through the documentation and just like learning it bit by bit, and it's been quite fun. So I'm changing my tune on that particular API. It's nowhere near as bad as I thought it was. Well, not bad, just difficult to work with. It's fine.
Yeah, I found it okay actually. I used it a couple of months ago, and I didn't think it was too bad. I do think knowing OO is kind of vital using that API. Just the way everything is, like a marker as an object, and well, it's just everything is an object, isn't it? Which I guess is true with JavaScript, but especially with that API, it's just the way it works is very OO, I think.
Is it me, or is it really, really difficult to read a JSON file using JavaScript?
With jQuery makes it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I ended up doing was I ended up just making it a JS file, and the big JavaScript object that has all my property details I got to read.
Yep.
I just call that function, but I thought, well, that seems like an easy way of doing it. I haven't really messed around with JSON files much, so maybe I'll dabble in doing something like that. But
yeah, it's not too difficult, because I guess if you think about it, it's you're going through arrays and objects, and because I remember when I first started playing about with JSON and JavaScript, it was like daunting as anything. But then when you do kind of break it down, it's like, this part's an array, so you can access this with square brackets, and this part's an object, so you can access.
But I mean, in terms of actually reading the file, like a PHP require or include, like if you want to do that in JavaScript,
as in actually going out and getting the file and then JSON parsing it.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, you can do script tags at the top of your page. Maybe that seems like the obvious thing, but if you actually want to like reference the stuff in there, like an array from within that function or an object or something like that, to do it via using JSON didn't seem that straightforward. So I ended up just using the JS file.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
No. Because whenever I've dealt with,
it's all right, I'm used to that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So where's the JSON actually coming from? Like, is it a static file with JSON in it itself?
It is, yeah. The list of properties isn't set to change, so I thought rather than messing around with input, I had a spreadsheet basically, so I just imported it and just put it into a file.
Okay.
Rather than messing around with a database. So yeah, it's in a JavaScript object.
Right, yeah.
But initially I thought, well, JavaScript object, that is JSON, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Things. Yeah, so I was like, well, all right, I could save it in a JS file and just like return the array, call it a function and then return an array from within that function. Or, maybe I could save this as in a JSON file,
right? Yeah.
And do some, and then look to learn some cool stuff and do things a bit differently. But
I mean, like generally, if you save just the contents of the JSON in a file in itself, you can get it with Ajax, and then I think is it JSON parse, or there's a JavaScript something like that which will recognize it as JSON if it's a valid JSON file, and then you can just parse it using your standard JavaScript.
Okay.
But when I
was googling it was going on about HTTP, HTTPS, and all this stuff, and I was thinking it can't be that complex.
No, it's not too bad at all. So, well, again, especially with jQuery, when an Ajax call's so easy with jQuery anyway, and returning from there.
It is a lot easier using jQuery, definitely. But
yeah,
I tend to, I guess the main things I do with JSON is usually if I've got like a JSON encoded array, and then most of the time I'm just doing something like $each and just looping through array objects and just using object dot to get whatever parameter I need. But I guess it depends on the JSON file that you're reading, I guess, to how hard it is.
Yeah,
but
maybe it just wasn't the best way. Maybe keeping it in a JS file and just calling the function is the best way of doing it. I didn't want to be going in and out of PHP calling it and then JSON encoding and doing all that stuff. I was like, I don't need to do that.
No.
I know that will work, but I'm doing this is a JavaScript kind of project. I want to keep it in JavaScript. So
yeah. Did you just say your third hot pick, or
no? I can't remember what it was. Maybe that was kind of it. It's not a hot pick as such, but yeah, it's kind of what I've been doing. So
no worries. Fraser, anything?
I've got no hot picks, but I've got a tweeter of the week.
Okay, go on.
Good old James Sargent. He's tweeted us a few times, but he gave us a nice one today, basically just saying, well, not today, it was about a week ago after the last podcast, just said that he loved the latest podcast on JavaScript, especially with a special mention of NetBeans as well. It's heavy, but I like it.
Do you know who he is, by the way?
No, is he a mate of yours?
He's the guy who works with me.
Yeah, no way. Well, say hello to him. I shouldn't have done it on air then.
He'll be chuffed for the shout out.
Because he's tweeted at us a few times before. So he seems to.
He actually listens to all our podcasts. So he'll be probably listening to this tomorrow. So
and I had a look through his Twitter feed as well. He was talking about something called, was it Code Babes or something like that?
Code Babes.
I don't know what it is. I think it's something that I must have missed the boat on, because from the tweet it basically said, "Oh yeah, this is why." I can't remember what it was, but it was basically inferring that a lot of people.
I don't even want to look at it because I don't want to know what it is.
I think
it could be any
tutorials.
Anyway, I don't know how good it is, but he was kind of inferring that it was something that was getting quite a lot of mentions at the moment, and it shouldn't be because it's crap basically. But I had a little look at it, and it seems to be kind of like pictures of hot ladies when you're sitting there trying to learn the basics of like Hello World and what have you,
or Nympho Windows. I imagine that'd be on that
exactly.
Well.
Yeah, maybe that's where it's come from. Maybe this
is that
subliminal rise of Code Babes giving Lewis Nympho Windows.
I'd be interested to do a very quick poll actually and see who out of the four of us has the most followers. Who at a guess would you?
I'd say Edman as well.
All right, well maybe that's a given. All right, out of the three of us then.
I'll go with.
I don't want to sound big-headed, but I'd go with me.
I think
I don't even have a lot. Like it's way less. Yeah, way less.
This is going to work out badly for me, isn't it?
I know. Because I've had a couple of like people jumping on board because of the rowing thing, but.
Nice picture of you and your partner, though.
Thanks,
up to about 6 to 8 months ago, Mike, I was always ahead of you. And you've nearly lapped me. What's going on?
Really?
Where am I going wrong? Give me some advice.
I don't know. To be honest, I always get lectured by Edman and my good mate Nick McDowell about blogging and stuff. So I did kind of take that on board, and I've been doing quite a bit. But I don't know. I think I get a few from my site, but I only get maybe 15 hits a day on my website. It's really pathetic. But I imagine I get a few from that. But I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
So you're on 95 at the moment. Fraser is 136.
Yes.
I am. What am I?
I think people just like looking at my shiny head. I think
69.
It is a beautiful head. 69,
Thanks.
eh?
Yeah.
God, what's going on with you tonight?
I even noticed, like, because I was looking at my Twitter followers the other day, and it was like, I think it was at 136, and then the next time I looked, it was at 134, and I felt so violated. I'm like, just who? Like, I don't say a lot on Twitter, but I don't think I'm that offensive, and I don't think it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it got to me. So yeah, if you're listening and you've unfollowed me recently, you know what you can do.
Yeah, I find it really annoying as well. You can find out. One of the guys at work was telling me, but
there's a website who.unfollow.me, isn't it?
Let's
have to get on that.
Just as a real aside, what is going on with my hair there?
Oh, it's beautiful.
I know we're all watching video.
That's
looks like I've got two heads. Anyway, sorry.
Right, who unfollowed me? Sorry, I'm just signing up to this Who Unfollowed Me website because I need to know.
Well,
quality podcast material.
I know.
Maybe Jeff, I would say, as a start.
Oh no, Jeff will.
Oh, you guys love this guy, don't you?
Oh yeah. He's gone quiet. I've not heard anything from him.
He's gone very quiet.
Yeah.
I think you put him in his place.
No, I think he still listens quietly. I think he's content there, sitting in his little room in Tokyo. Interrupted your picks there, Michael. Have you got any?
Oh yeah, I've got a couple. One that I was going to say, but Lou's kind of reminded me actually with his modern IE, and I think we've pretty actually already mentioned this, or Ed's mentioned it, but someone might not listen to it when we did. So the first one, I don't even know how you pronounce it actually. I want to say Puppet, but I know it's not Puppet because there's another thing called Puppet.
To do with Vagrant.
Yeah. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's the same thing. I'm just being stupid. But yeah, I think it's pronounced Puppet. But it's just something that helps you setting up virtual machines. Is that the same Puppet as what you know? Yeah.
A compiler kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, there you go.
Are you using Vagrant these days then?
I'm not. No, because I don't really ever need to be honest with you.
No, I did, and now I've stopped. It's more than
I'm yet
to
needed. Use that at all.
Yeah.
It's a great idea and everything. It's just it takes too long to boot the machines up and all this stuff. It's just I don't.
I tend to agree with that. I know that Ed will be listening back to this and screaming at us, but I tend to agree. It does take a while. I guess what I would use it for would be like cross-browser testing, but it's quite expensive in terms of system resources for that purpose.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. But
if you've got more than one, I assume the real hardcore Vagrant users have probably got half a dozen or so.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Machine, and the amount of memory that must take.
But I guess if they do a lot of that, they've probably got really high spec machines that are good for that. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention Puppet because if you bring it up modern IE, and then my main ones were there's one like really small one which is writecodeonline.com, and it's just like Fraser, why are you laughing? That's really disturbing.
Write code as in left, right, or as in
as in hand right.
Yeah. I was going to say left, right, or as in wrong, right, and then I realised that's the same.
Oh yeah, sorry, I remember that. I can't say anything that could slightly be some sort of innuendo or provocative. Yeah, I have a really small one. Writecodeonline.com. Basically, it's just like JS Fiddle, but you can do PHP on there. So
I'll say that. Not to phrase it.
No. So yeah, that's quite useful if you need to collaborate online with someone and just show them a bit of PHP. And another one that I'm absolutely positive we've mentioned on here before, but I've just started using it more now with my work, which is bitbucket.org.
Yeah.
Which I just find if you are using Git or you just want to start using Git, it's a good first step because basically you've got a really nice web interface so you can see your source code and everything. Unlike GitHub, or I don't know if it's still the case, but certainly when I use GitHub, you could only have public repositories on the free level. With Bitbucket, you can have private repositories as many as you want. And
all my code is stored in Bitbucket.
Yeah, all mine is in Bitbucket as well, all my freelance stuff, yeah.
So I'm preaching to the choir here, but it really is good. And for everyone at my work, some people who are less, haven't really used a command line before, you've got SourceTree, which is a really nice GUI application for handling your commits and pushing and pulling, all that kind of stuff. So I really rate that. And the other one, I haven't tried this, so I feel a bit bad bringing it in, but I kind of had a little look at it today, which is Codio.com, which is...
How are you spelling?
Yeah, I'll type it in here actually, so we remember to put it in the show notes, but Codio.com. Did I just say that right?
It's not European leader for refurbishment barcode POS chip and pin then. I'm on the wrong one.
That's our sponsor for the week. But Codio.com. I don't know why I struggle to read that.
Yeah, it does sound funny, doesn't it? Codi. Yeah, it sounds like there should be an E in there somewhere. I think that's what's throwing it off.
Exactly, yeah. But it looks really, really nice actually. Again, it's another editor. We always do be talking about editors. It seems to be suddenly a load of them coming out again. But
what was the one you were talking about last week that you signed up for a free trial and you didn't get your
yes, not PHP Storm.
The one that Ed was going crazy for. The one is it? I can't remember.
Atom. Yeah,
Atom, that's it.
I
registered for that probably about 2 months ago, and I still haven't had mine.
Mine took about that, to be honest with you. It took ages. So, but
have you used it? Have you tried it out?
I still can't because my Mac's playing up, or my screensaver settings need changing. But but yeah, as soon as I can, I'll let you know what I think on that. But this one looks really nice actually. I don't even have a look at it sometime, but looking at the features, it's just some really nice things in there. You start off by creating like a Git project. It's just a different way of doing things, really.
I'm worried that I'm institutionalized to Sublime now.
I think I am as well.
I am too, to be honest with you. I think I'd have a little play around with this, and I'd probably end up going back to Sublime. But this one did kind of strike me. It's actually looked really nice and modern, and it got some nice features on there. But yeah, I'll perhaps try and use it this week, and then come back next week and let you know what I think.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool. There's a pricing tab though, so it's not even an open source thing, is it? Oh, hang on. Oh, free.
Have they got any free one at all?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, they've got free for public and open source projects, and then $8 a month if you want to use it for commercial.
Wow.
Oh, hang on. That's unlimited private projects and boxes. So, hang on. So you say it does like Git repos as well?
Yeah. I think I could be wrong here, but when I was looking at the demo, I think it said that you start off by creating a project, and you've got things like virtual boxes all built in or something.
Right.
I'll have a look and come back with a review next week.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Did you guys ever use Adobe Brackets? I remember when they were raving about that coming out, but I never looked back at it.
I downloaded it and used it once, and it was really like painfully sluggish. Like it was, you know how you click on Sublime and it fires itself open within a second or 2 seconds. Like Brackets, I installed it, and then to actually get the software open was like 25 seconds. And this was on my work machine, it's a high spec machine, but it's got a spinning drive, so it's going to be a bit slower on the spinning drive. But yeah, like 20 odd seconds before it was usable, and then I remember I opened up a project and then trying to navigate the folders and like clicking on the folders to expand the folders, and that took like another 15 seconds before they expanded. And so I think I had it open for 5 minutes tops, and then just got rid of it and went back to Sublime.
Good old Sublime.
Well, it failed the test essentially, like because I physically can't use something that's that slow. Like and whether there's some amazing caching or something that needs to happen in the background before it can start being responsive, but Sublime doesn't need to do that. So. Yeah.
I'm not looking for anything that Sublime doesn't do, so I can't really see any reason to move away from it.
Yeah.
The only thing it doesn't. Well, I don't know if it does is like Coda, where you can FTP in and actually edit code live that way.
Yeah, I really like
That's
Coda.
The only thing.
Yeah, I was given a license to that by the company that I was working for in New Zealand, so I used that on the Mac, and then. I thought that was a great little editor. Something that I really like about that is when you know, like on Sublime, when you put your cursor next to a closing bracket, it'll show you where the opening bracket is. There's a really nice kind of interface thing on Coda that way if you kind of cursor over. So if you step over a closed bracket, it will actually highlight it with like a kind of like a throb, so you can actually see where it is. And it's a more visual thing to see. It's just like a nice little visual cue thing.
Yeah, nice. Okay, well, I think unless anyone else has got any other hot picks, we could go on to our main topic, I guess.
I think so, and I think I might be quite a quiet one on this because this is a topic that I'm not too well versed in.
Okay, well, let's start off with that actually then. So, both of you, any order you want really, but what is your experience of exceptions? What do you know? What do you think you know?
Personally, try, throw, and catch, and to be honest, that's about it. Yeah,
that's not bad. That's not bad. Lou, anything you want to add?
They're kind of used hand in hand with exceptions, aren't they? That's kind of my general understanding. Is if you an exception, my understanding of it is it's just a more kind of dynamic way to handle errors, I suppose. Like the exception class can actually give you specific error information back, and then if you throw an exception in its own right, then it's like using a die statement, and the code will die. But if you use a try catch statement, you can catch errors and then kind of report them out as and when you need them.
Well, what I'll do, you're both spot on, but I'll do like what Ed Mann does really, and just ramble out some notes and then try and make it a bit more interactive and kind of
and then the highlight testing me and Fraser on a subject that we both have very
there will be a quiz indeed.
Can you make it a jQuery or a CSS quiz, please?
There'll be, I think there's a JavaScript question, so
I may have a chance at answering one of those, but probably not.
Right,
if it's JavaScript.
Here comes the history side of things. Actually, before I dig into that, basically, I didn't really use exceptions until I started getting into Java. And again, I'm going to say this, I'll just say it, and I'll probably get in trouble with like listeners and stuff. But I generally find, I don't know about you, but with PHP, the whole idea, well, with errors and stuff, I think a lot of people will just say, look, let the whole thing die, and then you bug fix basically. So how many times do you see like, white screen of death with, black error messages on, or you might just suppress all error messages. You might just turn error messaging off, which is a really horrible way of doing it, because then how do you know? Okay, you might be logging those errors, but you see it a lot in PHP, right?
I have a confession to make.
Yeah,
this was done completely by accident, but without realising, like, the whole framework that I've been developing for probably about 6 months now. I only realised about 3-4 weeks ago that I'd actually been suppressing errors. I just thought I was the world's best coder ever.
No.
That's really common,
my environment variable was set to report errors if it was in production mode, not in. Oh god! And now I've fixed that. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I think that is a prime example, and that's the thing. And people don't really. I don't think people really spend much time thinking about what their error configuration is or anything like that. But in certainly the Java world, like when you look at like desktop applications and stuff, it seems to be a lot more important. And the whole idea is that you have like graceful degradation, not degradation, graceful kind of. If the program is going to collapse, that you do it in a nice way. Even if if you get to the point where a program cannot continue, you need to do something with that, whether it's feedback information to the developer, pass on a message to the user, say, look, the program's stopped working. You should do something rather than just let it die. How frustrating is it when you bring a program and you don't know what's going on, you don't know if it's still going or if it's crashed or what. So that's really where exceptions come in. But I'll do the Edman thing and just talk about the history very, very quickly. But basically, they first came in, and this is Ed's favourite language, actually. He does a lot
Python,
of programming with this.
Scala.
No, Lisp.
Latin.
Actually, Latin. Lisp is Ed's favourite language. He's a huge supporter of Lisp.
But basically, Ed's favourite language, is it?
Yeah, he absolutely raves about it. If you speak to him, he'll tell you why it's so much better than Python and PHP and Java. But yeah, he loves Lisp. But exceptions came in Lisp in the 1960s and 1970s, and past that, it started to become really popular, especially like in the 1980s. And just to list off a few languages, basically you've got it in ActionScript, Ada, Blitzmax, never heard of that in my life, C++, C#, D, ECMAScript, Eiffel, Java, ML, Object Pascal, Objective-C, PHP, Prolog, Python, Ruby, Scala, you name it. All the modern languages now, you've got some sort of exception handling.
Any more? Any more to add to that list? I know one of those.
What was the Blitz one? Because I want to learn that. It sounds pretty cool.
Blitzmax.
That
would be great to have on your CV, wouldn't it?
I hope that's like a new thing that's up and coming, because it sounds good.
So yeah, it's basically the most modern languages. Now I was going to ask this question, but I don't know like how many other languages you guys use on a day-to-day basis. But I was just going to see, like, especially if Ed was on, really, to see like how much exception handling he uses in PHP and how much he uses in Java. Now he's not here to defend himself, but I would bet money that he uses it more in other languages than he does in PHP. But I might be wrong, so I'll let him defend himself next week. But I think, in my mind, people are a lot more laps of it in PHP. That's my personal feeling on it. But yeah, again, the good thing about exception handling is you have some sort of graceful recovery. So you might be able to try and fix the problem. You can catch it, find out what's going on, and then you can actually recover and continue. Or at the very worst case, if you know you can't recover, you can actually do something with that information, log it, and then pass on a sensible message to the user. But I guess you guys have all seen, like, when you have had errors come through, like something like fatal exception, something like that. Yeah. But basically, when you get those messages, that's a prime example where you can open up a try-catch statement. Obviously, after your try block, you will say, okay, if this is okay, then try and execute this line of code. But if something goes wrong, then catch it. And you can catch that particular type of exception. Now, you could do two things, really. You could catch the exception, and this is thinking more something like Java, but in Java you can say, well, okay, I'm expecting this kind of exception. So you can do this in PHP as well, actually. But you can say, well, I want to see if I'm going to get this type of exception, and if I do, then do something with it. or what you could do is the other approach is where you just catch exception, because all these different exception types will extend the exception class. So you could catch everything. You could say, well, look, I want to try this, but I want to test for the eventuality of any exception type coming back.
So basically, if anything goes wrong whatsoever, I want to do, yeah.
Exactly. Or you could do it more fine-grained. You could say, well, look, if I get an out-of-bounds exception, i.e. someone's trying to get something out of an array, but that key doesn't exist, the item's not in the array, so you might say, just catch this exception, I don't care about anything else. So you can literally fine-grain it as much as you want, or you can just throw the kitchen sink at it.
The Stripe API uses a try-catch statement for handling its errors, actually.
It does, yeah, and that's a great thing, because...
Quite a cool way.
Yeah, and if you get that exception type, you can then do something like a print R or a var dump on there, and you can get, like you quite already said, one of you said before, that you can get more information on the exception then, and it's a nice way of debugging, basically. But yeah, I was going to say, I mean, okay, we talked about PHP, obviously that's probably all our primary language, but you can actually do exceptions in JavaScript as well. Thinking mainly about the web, you can
Catch is quite universal, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, to be fair, yeah. But I mean, I didn't know. I had to, before the podcast, I had to Google to see if you could do it in JavaScript. But you can, and it's the very same thing. Yeah, try catch statement. Basically, you could create your own custom exception with JavaScript by just putting throw and then adding a string. So you could say, well, try and do this, but if it doesn't work, then throw some sort of string that says this didn't work, try again, whatever you want to do, and then you just catch, and then you just put a variable inside of the catch block, and then you could do something with that. But there's also another a better way of doing it, which I think Douglas Crockford, who you hear like Ed going on about a lot, but basically you could do like a throw. Instead of just throwing a string, you could throw like an object. And you know how you create an object in JavaScript, you just open up your square brackets and then you have like a field for everything. So like he shows an example where he's got like a name of the exception, a level for the exception, a message, a HTML message, and then he has like a two-string thing as well. So you can do it in JavaScript as well. But again, probably I imagine most people don't, because it's interesting why people don't. I mean, why do you guys haven't done it more in PHP, I guess? That's not me having a go at you.
Yeah, why not? I don't really have an excuse. The only reason that I personally don't is, I guess, I don't even know. It's because I'm very self-taught in PHP, and it's not something that if you don't know about it, and if you don't use it, or if you're not taught about it, I guess it's something that you can chug along with without even noticing it exists, to be honest with you.
Completely agree.
That's the only excuse to me. Like, because if you come across a problem where you need to actually achieve something, then you'll investigate how to best achieve that problem. Whereas this area of exceptions over in the corner is something that to me could quite happily exist over there, and I'd never have any interaction with it whatsoever unless I had to kind of modify a framework or something like that where they did already employ exceptions.
Yeah,
exception handling.
I completely agree. And I hardly ever use exception handling in PHP, but I do that a lot more in Java.
Yep.
I can't really explain why, but I always say that I think any web developer who's worth their salt has a bit of the God complex, and they kind of think nothing's going to go wrong with my code, or we've been doing it so long, and it's a very loose and flexible language.
Oh, I'm exactly the opposite. I'm like, oh god, everything's going to go wrong with this. Like, I finish a website, and then like the boss is like, is it finished? Is it ready to go live? I'm like, yes. Yeah. Like fully well knowing that it is fine and it is good, but like absolutely crapping my pants that the second it goes live, everything's going to go wrong.
Something that you haven't imagined could go wrong. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, on that basis, I think we probably all should use exception handling more. But I guess it's kind of stuff like, it's like testing. It's not the most exciting stuff in the world. We don't really want to do it. And exception handling does take longer. It's more work, let's face it. But it can be really valuable in things in terms of testing. But I was just going to say, but if you've got the main exception class in PHP, like the PEP and the superclass exception, and it's got several methods on there that you may or may not know about, but when you look at them, you think, actually, this could be really helpful with debugging. So you've got these different methods, which are get message, get previous, get code, get file, get line, and get trace. And I won't go into like what each individual one does, but basically you can imagine like
that's in the quiz, isn't it?
Maybe. But yeah, those things are really helpful. I mean, the amount of times that you have something wrong with a website, you think, I have no idea what's causing it. This kind of stuff can do the difference. And also you can get that information, you could log it to a text file, you could email it to yourself, something, whatever you want to do, but the power there is really, really good. Whereas you think the other ways of doing things are, going down line by line, kind of exiting out, trying to work out stuff that way. Actually using exception handling can be a lot more powerful. And, taking a little bit more time to do that could be your friend, I guess. The other thing you can do in PHP, there's a function called set_exception_handler. So that would mean that every exception that comes through, you could do something custom with it. So say you haven't got a lot of time to start adding in exception handling. What you could do at the very least is just set this exception handler and say, well, look, any errors that happen, just log it all for me or email it all to me, something like that. So again, it's really powerful. You could do whatever you want with that. And then basically I've got 2 lines for pros and cons really, because I was trying to look on the web, see what everyone else was talking about. But the main things that people say as a con is that there's like a high performance overhead. Now, I can't think how many people would actually think, oh yeah, I'm really worried about the performance overhead, I'm not going to put in exception handling.
Yeah.
But I think that's quite like a severe attitude, to me. It's quite an extreme, but I don't know what it's like in other program languages, to be fair, but in certainly PHP I would have thought it wouldn't even be a concern. But again, that could be really controversial and I could have Jeff on our case, but
you will.
Yeah. And the other thing is, unfortunately, what you can do with exception handling is you can start passing that exception around and around. So basically, if you say you've got like 7 classes and you've got lots of like inheritance, lots of extending this, extending that, extending, you can keep passing that error back. So like back up the trace, and it becomes really messy trying to find out where things are and what's going on. But again, that's more of a software craftsmanship thing more than anything. But yeah, it's really powerful what you can do. It's, there's not much more I can say about exception handling other than, we probably should be doing it. And I think it's something that people are doing more in other languages than what we are doing in PHP. So, yeah.
When you're just conditions using if statements and using that for everything, then I don't know, that's just kind of what you tend to stick to. But I don't know, are there certain situations where, they say that, you should definitely use a try-catch statement rather than if else, or? Well,
I guess the way things are going now, and obviously PHP's had this big shift, like from a procedural language to becoming more of an object-oriented language, and things like date time and stuff, like I think there's quite a lot of stuff in the date time class where they throw exceptions, and you can't ignore them. You know what I mean? You have to catch it and do something with it. It's not like you choose whether to accept it or not. You have to catch it. So things like that, you just have to do it. It can be quite frustrating sometimes when you think, oh, don't throw an exception, just don't do it, just return null or something if you can't do it. But I think it's going to be more and more that way. And I think PDO as well, the PDO class, there's quite a few things that throws exceptions there. So,
and like you said, connecting to your database in the PDO when you're using PDO is done normally with try catch.
Yeah, because that throws an exception if you can't. And like you said with Stripe, they throw exceptions, and I got caught out with Stripe on that front, and I suddenly had to add in a try catch statement. But yeah, I think it is something that will become more and more important, particularly with PHP. I think it's been kind of neglected in the past, but again, there'll probably be really good PHP developers out there using it all the time, so I don't want to say that too much. So, did you guys have any questions that I might be able to answer with exceptions, or are you quite happy with that?
Personally, no.
I think we should battle it out.
You ready for the big quiz?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's whoever can score a point first. It should be sudden death because we can go on for about 4 hours of whoever gets the first question right.
Yeah.
Well, I've only put 5 questions to be.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Tonight,
first person to get one right wins.
Yeah. Golden goal.
I'm sure you'll get one. Okay, so let me just see how this is going to work. Let me see if you can both answer this. Let me have a look. Okay, you could probably just guess this one. So
Okay.
you can both answer this. There's no rush or anything. But okay, how can you reset the exception handler after declaring set underscore exception underscore handler? That's the function I was talking about before, where you can add like a custom handler for any exceptions. And the question is, what function can you use to reset the exception handler?
The reset function.
Handler. Or if it's not called that, then it blooming should be, because that's what it does.
What's the function to set it again?
The function to set it is set underscore exception underscore handler.
Okay, unset underscore exception underscore handler.
That would make sense, wouldn't it? Why is PHP just sometimes the naming is awful? It's not, no. Lou.
Okay. Reset error exception the handler.
Again, that would have been my guess because that's quite logical. It's not actually. It is restore underscore exception underscore handler.
Of course.
We got the rebit.
Do we get like a quarter of a point for that?
No, because I can't put a quarter. Sublime. I guess I could put 0.25. There we go. Alright, you can have a quarter of a point.
Yes!
Number 2.
Or you could do 1/4.
Oh, yeah. I'm such an idiot. Either way works. Number 2 then. What does the finally part of a try-catch statement do?
If nothing else is matched, then do that. No. Once you've done everything, do that. Or once you've done all the other available options. Sorry, I'm just jumping the gun. You'll go, Lewis.
Lee?
Finally. I'm trying to I'm sure I've heard of it, but I'm trying to think. Is it if no exceptions are found, do this, but then I suppose it would stay in the try bit, wouldn't it? Because it hasn't found any exceptions. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I haven't got a clue.
You both kind of answered the question, sort of.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you another quarter of a point each.
Do I get a point just for answering it?
Can I have another stab at it?
Yeah, go for it.
Like, does it do all its tries and all its catches, and then whatever's the outcome of that is, it doesn't matter what the outcome is, because then it goes on to the finally.
It's not like the default part of a switch statement, is it? That kind of whatever.
You're on the right tracks. I think Fraser's just answered it. Yeah, basically, I'll give you a point for that, Fraser, and Lee, I'll give you a quarter.
Oh, thanks.
I'm going to give you half. I'm feeling generous.
Oh, brilliant.
Can I have 3 quarters? Today. Rather than half point, can I have 3 quarters because I didn't get it right first time?
3 quarters.
I like your headphones.
Oh, I'm going to have to add this up. Thanks, Lee. I'm going to have to add this up after. Okay. Yeah, so basically, I think you just got it there, Fraser. Regardless of whether it gets through the try-catch statement, whether it passes or not, it executes it anyway. So, which is what you were kind of saying, Lou, with the default on a switch statement, but it's a little bit more in depth that it'll actually execute that bit of code regardless of what happens in the try-catch statement. So it will always happen. Always happen. So that's that one. Okay, so number 3. Within the SPL, or the standard PHP library, you have a certain amount of native exception types that are all built into the library for you. And I guess the question is, name as many as you can, and I will offer a point for each one that you can name.
I can do 2.
2, all right?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Can you raise my 2, Fraser?
No.
Exception handler and error handler. I might be wrong, probably wrong, in which case that's embarrassing.
You are wrong. Well, you're not necessarily wrong. It's probably just I just asked the question in a way that's actually nonsensical. But
can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So, you've got the standard PHP library, the SPL. there are a certain amount of exception types that are built into that library that already exist. What is going on here? And yeah, basically, I want you to name as many as you can. So I'm going to give you a clue. They all end in the word exception. So when you see like those fatal errors come up, probably some of them will be like native ones that are built into the library.
Okay. So
I think I mentioned one before, but I'm just checking it's not a Java one. I think it's in PHP as well.
Data type exception?
It's not on my list.
That's probably not even.
I did mention one before, if you can think of it, and it was with the example of arrays.
Array exception.
No.
Array handler.
No.
Exception.
Array exception handler exception handler.
No. So imagine like you go and try and get something out of an array, and you say, "Go and get me number 3 out of this array."
Index exception.
In array pluck.
Array
handler.
index exception.
Array object.
Index
create,
not found exception.
Get JSON handler.
I'm tempted to take points away from you both. No. I just mentioned it 5 minutes ago.
Invalid index exception.
No. So if it wasn't...
Stop Googling. I love it. You're Googling and you're still wrong.
Oh, my hands are up here. Oh, I'm
Okay.
Googling because my keyboard's here, so you'd see that.
Okay.
So if something wasn't inbound, what would it be?
Outbound
exception.
Yeah. How impatient are you? I was just literally coming to that one.
Right, I'll mention the other ones for you to
Out
say.
of bounds exception with array handlers.
Yeah, you've got out of bounds exception. You've also got bad function call exception, bad method call exception, domain exception, invalid argument exception. Actually, did someone just say that? Maybe I've been... Did one of you say...
I said invalid index.
Oh, right. Okay, not giving you that then. Length exception. I get that all the time. Logic exception.
As in people take exception to
my
that,
length.
or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that in the catch?
Yeah. They catch my length.
Or do you try?
Yeah. Logic exception, out of range exception, overflow exception, range exception, runtime exception, underflow exception, unexpected value exception. Which just reminds me after I finish the quiz, there's one other thing I should mention about exceptions, which I haven't mentioned. Right, number 4.
Is that the exception?
Wait.
Oh,
Number 4. What year is commonly agreed upon for the year exceptions were introduced?
1976.
No.
1982.
1943.
Right. I'm going to say the closest wins. So, are they your final answers?
All right, 1991.
You're going for
1990 then to block him for the lower.
Ah.
I honestly don't know if you guys actually listen to anything I say, because I actually talked about the decade that they came in, but
I don't recall that.
Fraser, you win with your shocking answer of 1990.
I originally said 82 though.
You did say 82, and
actually, I originally said 1947.
Brilliant. It was 1962. So you get a point.
You would have won with 47.
Right, and the final question to redeem yourselves is what is the equivalent of catch syntax in Python? This one would have been Fred, really.
Well, as a seasoned Python programmer, I can hold.
It's a good guess, but it's not right.
Grab.
No.
Cling.
No.
Fraser, your turn. Let's mallet this one up.
Basket.
Contain.
Right. I'm going to give you both a clue.
Okay.
Which should make it really easy-ish. So it's going to be the first one to answer.
Okay.
All right. But basically, the word is in exception.
Except.
Correct. Fraser, I think you were first. So.
It's not technically in exception, but you know.
Oh man, I'm looking bad tonight. So I have the winner with that's good. It adds up 2 points out of 5.
Well done.
It's Fraser.
Boom!
Solid performance there.
Thank you, and yourself.
Well done to you. I feel myself I could have maybe done better.
So there is one other thing I should mention about exceptions, and you don't have this in PHP, but I think you do in most languages, is you have 2 types of exceptions. Also with PHP, it's an interpreted language, so you don't have the compiling stage. With something like Java, you do. And because you have 2 different types of exceptions, one is called a checked exception, and one is called an unchecked exception. And basically all that means is if you have a checked exception, I can't even say the word, checked exception. A checked exception. Basically, when you compile your program, the compiler will actually go through your program and check that you're actually dealing with those exception types.
It will check the checked exception. Is that what
it will check the checked exception. Yes, exactly. Whereas an unchecked one, basically, they're things that happen at runtime that the compiler can't know about. But you extend a certain class to make it a checked exception.
But if the unchecked exception hasn't been checked, but then it gets checked, does the unchecked exception become checked?
Check. Yeah, it does. But yeah, that's for other languages. For PHP, you don't have to worry about that. But in Java and other languages, you do. I can't really talk for things like Python, but I'm sure Edman will inform us next week. But that is about all the notes I have for exception handling. But again, I guess the main things I would say is that I don't think it's used that much in PHP by most people at the moment. Certainly in terms of creating your own exceptions, but it can be really powerful for debugging and just that kind of stuff. So I would fully recommend getting on board with it. But if I have said anything that you completely disagree with, feel free to to leave us any comments or any questions. Anything
to be honest, I take issue with quite a lot of that. So
you can leave some comments on the forum after.
I will.
I would thank you for doing the work in that, Michael. Obviously there was no input into the conversation, but thank you.
No problem at all. No worries.
I can always try and rely on my entertainment value.
Absolutely, would be the same. So well done, Fraser, on winning the quiz, and I think we're pretty all about done for this week, unless anyone else thinks they have anything that they need to add.
Just the standard end of show stuff of can we have some reviews on iTunes? If anybody would care to give us one, that'd be great. And keep sending us emails and tweets. We genuinely do appreciate you taking the time to just to listen and to get in touch with us.
100%, and use the new forum as well. We'd really like to get people on there.
Jump on the forum and see if you can beat Ed at some of his own kata that he's put up there, because that'd be good.
That would be amazing.
Someone put up a really inefficient one as well. We're up for a really inefficient one.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I think we've changed the way our article system's working on the Free Devs website now as well. Because I think before it was getting like the last 10 articles, last 10 tutorials, where I think now it's getting everything from like the beginning of time. So there's a lot more resources on there as well. Mainly Ed stuff, to be fair, but yeah.
I haven't written, and I just haven't had time to do anything like that.
Yeah,
I plan to eventually, but I haven't even got my own site up and running at the moment.
It is hard, isn't it? It's like the whole painter decorator thing. Like the last thing they do is their own house, because the last thing they want to do when they get home is do it. But But there's loads of resources on there, so check it out. And get on forum, tweet us, email us, whatever you want.
Yeah, I need more followers, please.
Yeah, follow Lewis.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Everyone, are you guys following me?
I do follow you. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, no, I love your tweets. They're really top.
Thanks, mate. Oh, brilliant! Right back at you.
And anyone who wants to come on the show, anyone who any level whatsoever, novice. Well,
no, I'm up for anyone, to be honest. Like, if they've got anything, anyone with anything to say about web dev.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Cool. And I don't know what the topic is for next week, but we will be back, and hopefully we'll have Edman back with us. Are you two both around next week?
I am indeed. Yeah, I'm around for 3 more weeks, and then that's when I shoot off. But I should be able to get at least one in while I'm in the US, and then we'll get something when I'm on the boat as well.
Nice. So we should be a full team next week. That'd be good.
Cool. All right. Thanks for
Thanks for listening, everyone. We have been Free Devs and Maybe, and we'll be back next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to 3 Devs and a Maybe. You can contact us at contact@3devsandamaybe.com or follow us on Twitter at 3 Devs and a Maybe.